The Ninth and 10th Amendment are two of the most important amendments to consider in how we function as a country. So the Ninth Amendment says that the people's rights are not limited to those listed in the Bill of Rights. See, the theme that I have been telling you about in this approach to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is that the government is supposed to be in a box, and the people are free outside of the box to do whatever they want. And the reason I've said this is because of the Ninth Amendment. The Ninth and 10th Amendments are really like the summary of what our Founding Fathers were saying. So you had the Declaration of Independence, you had the Constitution, you had the Bill of Rights, and this is the very end of those things that they have written. It is like the summary or summation, it's the conclusion of a long-standing essay of works. Okay? So what they're trying to say is, in the Ninth Amendment, that the rights that people have are not listed here in just this document. Like somehow this document is the only rights that people have. They're trying to remind people, hey, people have a lot of rights out there, and it's not just the ones that we've written down. For example, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, those are not written in the Bill of Rights. They're written in the Declaration of Independence. But do you have the right to life? Well, I would say yes. And do you have the right to liberty? Yes, and the pursuit of happiness. And so our Founding Fathers were saying, just because we didn't write them down here doesn't mean you don't have those rights. You still have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And there are many other things that you have the right to. You have the right to go and do just about anything. The guiding principle is that it doesn't harm others. Okay? So that's been seen as a theme throughout the entire Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And what happens here is they're trying to remind people of that. Government is in the box, and there's a list of these rights that government better not violate ever, but it's not the only rights that you have. You also have all these other things out there too. You know, the right to go to school, the right to access health care, the right to, you know, and you just fill in the blank, whatever it is there, you have the right to do all those things. Government is in the box. And the reason I say that is because of the 10th Amendment. The 10th Amendment says the powers not given to the federal government in the Constitution are reserved to the states and the people. So they're trying to say, look, we're going to make this list of things the federal government can do, and that list is all that the federal government can do. They are not supposed to do any more than what's listed here. These are their powers, and that's it. Because our Founding Fathers wanted a limited government, and that's what we've been learning about in the book there. Our Founding Fathers wanted a very small national government because that's what they were most afraid of, and they were worried that it would grow. And so a constitution was a way of putting government in a box and saying, here is where you operate and nowhere else. Okay? So that's the 10th Amendment. Well, if government is supposed to be inside that box, who has all the other powers? That's reserved to the states. Issues like education are a state issue. There should not be a Department of Education at the national level because that's not in the Constitution. Yet, we have it. So how did those kind of things get there? Health and Human Services, that is a state's issue. But it's now been, you know, taken by the federal government. How did we get there? Well, the 14th Amendment, as we go through, we're going to find that that's really where states' rights were very much diminished. And so it's almost like the Supreme Court has said, well, each new amendment that is added like sort of diminishes the ones that go before it. So agree or disagree, that is how the Supreme Court has interpreted a lot of these things. So the 10th Amendment has really been diminished and reduced to the point where I'm not sure that it even matters anymore in our present day. I mean, it's a reminder from our Founding Fathers, this is what they wanted, and we look at it and we say, yeah, it's what they wanted, but this is what we want. And so now what we have is a centralized structure that does not resemble this at all. Okay? So in the idea of having the states have the power for things like education, healthcare, road service. You know, we have an interstate highway program that's not run by the states, it's run by the federal government. All these kind of things are being taken by the federal government, and states are being diminished. And I think at the same time, it also diminishes a lot of the rights of the people, because what has happened is government at the federal level, if it says, well, we get to set the agenda for everything, then you've got the federal government at the top, you've got the states, you know, that are following the federal government, you've got the counties and the cities that follow the states, and then you've got the people that are basically at the bottom of all these state regulations and rules. So our structure is not the conglomeration of different states that we used to have. What we have now is a more centralized structure. Okay? So this is an interesting one, and I think this concept might help America in the future. I don't know. We're going to see how we go. But certainly states are lining up to have very different ideas and very different cultures. And if we understand the 10th Amendment, the idea that states can be different and still be united in certain causes, I think that can really help America move forward. You know, states like Texas are going to look very different than states like California, and that's okay. All right? So if we return to this idea of states' rights, it's my opinion that I think that would benefit America quite a bit, because we'd still be united in things that are in the Constitution, like we have one singular money, we allow freedom of trade, we don't restrict interstate commerce, we have national defense, you know, all the things in the preamble of the Constitution. We have courts, we have police, we have army, we have basic rules like drive on the right side of the road and not the left, you know. So we're united in the things that are in the Constitution, and then we're able to be free and do as we please outside of that, and then you can select the state which you like. Some states will be very different than other states, and people can move between them and select what it is they want. They can vote with their feet, so to speak. So that's how America was really founded. That's what our founding fathers were looking for, is that they wanted the people to be free, and they wanted the states to be the main place where people go to have their governance. And then beyond that, they wanted a few things at the national level that were in that constitutional box that said this is what the national government does. Okay? So that was the system under which we were founded, and that's the basic premise of where we've come from. The amendments beyond the 10th are going to be getting to how we've evolved differently than what the founding fathers had, and what has progressed over time into what we now have as a country. All right? So looking forward to questions and comments about that and the scope of the 9th and 10th Amendment and how big those are. All right? I'll see you in class.